The Miami Heat made a signing on Wednesday afternoon. I am Nic Rohloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. We're going to break down the player that Miami added to their preseason roster. Plus, there will be more moves coming for the Miami Heat. I'll allude to what they may actually be. But the player Miami signed was guard Jahmir Young. Michael Scotto had the report, so shout out to him for having it first. This is a player that is an absolute bucket getter, averaged 21 points a game last season in the G League while playing for the Chicago Bulls. And we'll get to more on him in a second. But I do want to let people know this is an Exhibit 10 contract. We've gone over what Miami has available to them. They have one standard contract available. They have 14 out of 15 standard spots open or used. Then they have two-ways used, allowing one player to have a two-way contract, but they could fill out their preseason roster with a bunch of Exhibit 10s and then potentially elevate one of those guys to that final two-way spot if they choose to. And before we break down him as a player more in depth, I want to show Jahmir Young some love. He's the newest player of this Heat roster. So welcome him to the 305 Miami. Like the video right now to welcome him to the squad. All right, let's talk about Jahmir Young. He spent a lot of time in college, a lot. He played at UNC Charlotte from 2019 to 2022 before transferring to Maryland for the 2022-23 and 23-24 season. After his 2 years playing for the Terrapins and Kevin Willard, he went undrafted in the 2024 NBA draft, was with the Denver Nuggets for their training camp, but ultimately was with the Bulls G League team and then signed a two-way with Chicago on February 19th, 2025, and actually appeared in some NBA action. This is a smaller body guard. He's 6'1", 182 with a 6'4.5" wingspan, so it's not a lengthy guard. We talked about Ethan Thompson, a player Miami signed to a two-way deal last week. He is a lengthy, big body guard that knows how to use his size. Young is a shifty, kind of bucket getter, outside shooting type of guy. He's not going to really slash and really put pressure on the rim a ton. But I wanted to take a look back at his college career when he played for the Charlotte 49ers, averaged 16.7 points per game. And what's interesting about his collegiate career in comparison to what he's done professionally so far, well, he actually rebounded better than playmade at the college level. But when he took a step up in competition from the Conference USA level to the Big Ten, well, he performed much better at Maryland. The efficiency took a little bit of a dip, but his numbers went up in assists and points per game. Simply put, he knows how to score the basketball. And as a college basketball hoop head myself, I remember watching some Big Ten hoops with Young. Those Maryland teams weren't anything special. He led Maryland to the NCAA tournament his first year for the Terrapins. They were in the 8-9 game. They ultimately won their first game, then lost to Alabama in the second round. And then in his final season, they did actually not have a good year. They didn't make it to the NCAA tournament. But in college, Young racked up the accolades. At his 2 years in Maryland, second-team All-Big Ten, first-team All-Big Ten. When he was with Charlotte, he was two-time first-team All-Conference USA, third-team All-Conference USA, as well as the CUSA Freshman of the Year in 2020. So this guy is used to performing at a high level. So before we get more on Young, are you happy with the signing? I know it's a low-level signing, but I want to get your thoughts. Type Y for yes or type N for no. Well, we talked about his background and his college career. Let's move over to his G League career, where he spent this past season for, I think it's the Windy City Bulls. He averaged 21 a night, 7 assists, 45% from the field, and 30% from three. So, as we consistently look at his numbers throughout his basketball career, one thing remains consistent. He scores the basketball. And when you think of what Miami had in their farm system last season, think about the two-way contracts they had. They had Josh Christopher. They had Keshad Johnson. They had Isaiah Stevens and Drew Smith throughout the year. And they've had Christopher for the past couple seasons. Well, what was Christopher's role? In the G League, he was the leading scorer and lead ball handler and shooter from beyond the arc. And that's what he did in the summer league as well. And with Josh Christopher no longer in this Heat farm system, I could easily see Jahmir Young taking over that exact role that Josh Christopher held the past 2 seasons on a two-way contract or on the Heat Sioux Falls G League team. And speaking of G League, Jahmir Young last season was on the all-rookie squad. But I did mention off the top, he did appear in some NBA action last season. He got called up to the Bulls squad late in the year after signing a two-way. He appeared in 6 games, and across those 6 games, played in 30 minutes, so averaged about 5 minutes a night in those 6 games. And here are his numbers in those 30 minutes. He scored 11 points, dished out 6 assists, grabbed 3 boards, shot 4 or 5 from the field, and 1 of 2 from 3. I know it is spread across 6 different games, and it's not on one night, but if you were to just say, hey, Jahmir Young, go out and play 30 minutes in one game, and he had that type of performance, that would be a pretty solid game. I know I may be reaching here, but when you look at his per 36 stats, he also averaged 16 points a game. Like, if he was given more of an opportunity, and I get it, it's March and April regular season NBA basketball, there might be something there for Jahmir Young. And he followed it up with a really strong summer for the Bulls Summer League team. We'll talk more about that in a second. But showing some love to the sponsor on this episode of the Heat Report, that is Prize Picks, and I'm so happy Prize Picks is back. Basketball is not here just yet, but we got preseason football, college football, and the regular season getting underway very, very shortly. You can get in on the action by taking more or less on player stat totals, like Saquon Barkley, Joe Burrow, Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. It's so simple to play. You really just do pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money, even if one of your picks does not hit. And I've already got my entry in for the first week of professional football. Take advantage of the discounted stat total for Dak Prescott, more than half a passing yard in the season opener in football. I'll pair that up with Joe Flacco, more than passing yards, and Demario Douglas, more than receiving yards. 3-player entry to win 6 times my money. But like I mentioned, you can customize the way you play and potentially win 2,000 times your money. So download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Links in the description and comments of today's video. PrizePicks, run your game. I mentioned that Jahmir Young played for the Chicago Bulls Summer League team this upcoming summer, or following summer, I suppose I should say. Previous, I don't really know. I'm not a wordsmith. We talk about this every day. I can't speak. I don't know why I'm allowed to be up here on camera speaking every single day. But Jahmir Young played really well in the summer league for the Bulls. Averaged 13 a night, dished out 4 assists. But look at the efficiency that he played with. We know that his efficiency has not been his strong suit in the G League or playing and the Big Ten level at college, but he shot above 50% from the field and 56% from beyond the arc, which is a stark contrast considering in the G League he shot 30% from 3, and that's what he shot in his 2 seasons playing for Maryland. And in the Summer League, he dropped 40 in one game, shooting, I believe it was 13 of 17 from the field in that game. He knows how to get to his spots, and he's able to knock down shots if he is left open. I will continue to go back and harp on this point. I do truly believe with Josh Christopher out of the equation in the Heat's G League system, 2-way contract slots, I think Jahmir Young could easily fill that void. And we're going to look at who is currently in those 2-way slots and Exhibit 10 contracts to round out today's show. But this is why you subscribe, because who else is breaking down Jahmir Young in depth like this? I don't think many. Subscribe for daily Heat coverage, and you'll be updated on everything the Miami Heat do. Subscribe today. The Heat currently have 3 more preseason roster spots available to them, which is why I said in the open that more moves will be coming. Because they have 3 spots, they will sign 3 more people. You look at the Heat current roster, there was 14 guys on their standard contracts. We know There has been some talks about adding another big man on a standard deal. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen anytime soon. We know the Haywood Highsmith trade, the Drew Smith signing. Either way, the Heat have one standard contract available. But the Heat have 4 other players. So 14 plus 4 equals 18. Quick math there. And then if you subtract that from 21, which is the max number of preseason roster contracts you can have, that is where the number becomes 3 for the Heat available players to sign. Now, all 3 players could be Exhibit 10s. One could be a two-way and then 2 Exhibit 10s. It could be 1 standard contract, 1 two-way, and 1 Exhibit 10. It could be any combination of those 3 spots, but they do have 3 spots open. Vlad Golden and Myron Gardner on your two-ways. Ethan Thompson was signed last week and Jahmir Young yesterday on Exhibit 10s. And with 3 more spots open, there is a clear pathway for me in terms of how they should be used. Let's add some big men. Do I think all 3 spots should be big men? No, probably not. You have 2 Exhibit 10 guards. You have another guard on a two-way and a big man on a two-way. So why not add another big man, maybe another wing, and then we can talk about a wing or a big for that final spot as well. The point is, the Heat are going to add 3 more players before September 30th. September 30th is the Heat's first day of training camp. Let's hope some big men get added to the roster. Wouldn't shock me if they ultimately signed 3 guys to an Exhibit 10 and invited them to their preseason and training camp portion from their G Leagues or the Summer League squad this year. Keep an eye on some of those guys, like Eric Stevenson. There's a little bit of a rumor out there that this guy named Gabe Madsen, former Utah guard, as well as a Golden State Warriors Summer League player, could be in the fold for Miami. So just keep an eye on some of those names. But if the Heat do make a signing, we will have you covered on my Twitter, on the channel. Subscribe and follow me because I broke down Jahmir Young on Twitter yesterday afternoon, and then we're making the video today. So if you want wall-to-wall coverage, subscribe and follow me today.